Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 226 of the Laravel News Podcast. Today is November 12th. We didn't update the date on our show notes, but that's okay. And with me, as always, is my wonderful, amazing Aussie friend and host of the Laracon AU, which went off amazingly. Hopefully you followed along and you got to see the fireworks at the end. Michael, welcome. How are you, dude?
Hello. I'm going well. How are you?
I'm great. So we are like behind by a couple weeks because I was out for a conference and then you were out for a conference and now we're back. So we are bringing back the rapid fire episode, which is 1 minute or less for each item on the list. Are you ready to go?
Definitely ready to try.
Okay. Do you want to take the first one?
Let's do it. Laravel
Do it. Go.
11.28 added a composer dev command. So Taylor Otwell updated the Laravel application repo with a composer run dev command for all new apps. In the same pull request, every new Laravel app now includes a tailwind.config.js file. Having Tailwind config lets you get started using it immediately without installing any starter kit, which is great news for anyone who wants to tinker with Tailwind without any additional setup. There is a new collected by attribute added by Andreas Alsterholm. With this attribute added, one would only have to add the attribute rather than override the new collection method on the model class. If you ever had to do this before, you can use this new collected by attribute and pass it a custom collection name, and it will handle using that for you automatically. Harm Hermson contributed interactive support for the env::encrypt and env::decrypt commands. The encrypt commands prompt the user to either generate a random key or enter an existing one to use for encryption, and the decrypt command allows you to paste the key using a prompt and password field. Ryan Holton added a new default locale and default currency helpers to the number facade, which you can use if you need to return the default locale and currency in your application. That is it for 11.28.
Ooh, you made it by like literally a second. So here we are, 11.30. I've got my timer started. Okay, with defer and without defer test helpers. Tim McDonald introduced these test helpers. Using without defer is helpful when you're working with tests using defer, but you want to disable it to assert the outcome of that deferred call. So you can find that in pull request 53.340. So if you're using defer, you could basically turn it off and then make your assertions. So there you have that. Has unique string IDs trait was created by Luke Kuzmish. What this does is it allows you to use custom unique string IDs as route keys without having to override the resolve route binding query. So an example of how you could customize the types of unique strings your model uses is you use the unique string IDs, passing in new unique ID method and is valid method, or not passing those in, but creating those. It doesn't introduce any breaking changes to the has UUIDs or has ULID model concerns. And so, one second here. My timer's blowing up in my ear. And that was 1 minute. Not even close. All right. Johan van Helden updated the authorizes requests trait to accept backed enums directly. This is something we've talked about a couple times. These backed enums that are now getting used in other places inside the framework, authorize now accepts those as well. Close. We were close. That's 11.30. To you, my friend.
Laravel Nightwatch was announced at Laracon AU last week at the time of this recording. It will be a hosted application for monitoring your Laravel applications specifically, and teams that demand real-time insights into their applications will be overjoyed. The Laravel team has meticulously optimized it for Laravel, and it will provide deep context-aware monitoring. Jess Archer gave a demo of Nightwatch, and it was packed full of useful features and insights into every aspect of your Laravel application. You're able to monitor requests, jobs, schedule tasks, logs, exceptions, slow routes, deploys, and so much more. You are seeing a complete picture of your application's health and performance with absolutely zero configuration. Nightwatch is currently under active development, and early access will begin in Q1 of 2025. As for pricing, Taylor said they are still working out the details, but the goal is to offer flexible pricing that caters to developers and teams of all sizes. Whether you are a solo developer or a large enterprise, it will be accessible to everybody. The video from Laracon AU was released on the Laravel YouTube channel today, so if you want to catch that, if you didn't see the live stream, you can do that on YouTube. We have links in the show notes.
Nicely done. We have talked about Laracon AU a couple times, but we do have a new episode of the Laravel News Creator Spotlight, in which Eric Barnes interviews Mr. Dyrynda, the creator of Laracon AU. So in the podcast, in the vlog, I suppose, I'm not sure what you'd call it, discuss the importance of networking at conferences, Michael's journey in creating Laracon AU, and the enhancements made for the social events this year. I got to say, every year I feel like you do just a great job of making it even that much better. So super cool. I loved following along from afar this year. It looked like you guys had a great time. So if you're interested in hearing more about how that all came about and all the work that goes into that, definitely check out this Creator Series episode with Mr. Dyrynda.
Also in the Creator Series, fellow Australian Stephen Rees-Carter joined Eric to talk about securing Laravel applications. He discussed security consulting as his business, the importance of penetration testing, and common vulnerabilities found in Laravel applications. We'll have links to that for you in the show notes.
Awesome. We've also got as an announcement here that Pest 3.5 allows for nested describe blocks. So Nuno talked about this, just dropped Pest 3.5, supporting those nested describe blocks. And so what that means is that you can say, I have a describe auth, and then you can have a describe inside of that thing. So you can put those together so that you can have, you can loop over, right, a couple of these and say like, hey, all of these are nested inside of auth, all these are nested inside of rate limiting, so you can do both of those things at the same time. Before this, you could use the describe block for a single group of tests, but you could only do it at the top level. Yeah. So now you can do it within both. And so the really cool thing about that is that it shows it in your output as well. So the organization of the test will say like dashboard and then arrow notifications, arrow new orders. So you can do that really easily now, which is really stinking cool. So nice job on that. Good job, Nuno. And shout out to Justin Hayes, who contributed the support.
Laravel Herd has added native MongoDB support, making it super easy to integrate MongoDB into your Laravel applications. You can check out the Herd documentations for this feature that allows you to quickly spin up a local Mongo instance and install the Mongo PHP extension directly within Herd. With minimal configuration, you can build applications leveraging Mongo's powerful document-based database system. We have links to that for you in the show notes. If you need that, upgrade your version of Herd.
I'm going to talk about two real quick here. Don't forget that there is a Laravel Roundup that Eric is now doing. So we have the November edition of the Laravel Roundup, which just covers recent highlights and community events. And so the items that he's got in here are Laravel New, the Laravel MongoDB releases, WireSpy, Inertia v2, Pan created by Nuno, which is the lightweight and privacy-focused PHP product analytics library, as well as API platform for Laravel, which you should use Scramble for instead. Okay, in addition to that, PHPStan 2.0 is here. So this week, a massive update, 3 years in the making, which consisted of over 180 items in the release, was created. Creator Andrzej Mitres has this to say about the release of PHPStan 1.0 over 3 years ago and releasing 2.0. He says, PHPStan 1.0 was released over 3 years ago, but I'm happy to report the project is thriving. 176 releases since then. Fixing bugs and laying the groundwork for 2.0. Been looking forward to this for a long time. Everybody's going to finally be able to enjoy these new features we've been working on. Some of them have already been enjoyed by early adopters for more than 2 years. So main features. There is now level 10, which is level 9 on steroids. It treats all mixed types strictly, not just explicit mixed. You now have list types, which lists are arrays with sequential integer keys starting at 0. It's lower on memory consumption, which is great. It will validate inline PHP doc var tag types and less caching and disk space cleanup. So you can read the comprehensive 2.0 release notes to find out everything that's included, then follow the step-by-step upgrade guide to upgrade PHPStan from 1.0 to 2.0.
Very cool. Onwards to the packages. The Laravel Q cancel batch package provides a command to cancel a specific batch of Q jobs. If you run the command without any arguments, it will list current batches that have more than one pending job, are not finished, and have not been cancelled. You can select multiple batches from the list, or if you know the UUIDs of the batches you want to cancel, you can pass those to the command. There are a few examples of how you might execute this in the show notes. It is, of course, a composer require away. Thanks to everybody's favorite Paul, everybody's favorite human, Paul Redmond, for writing this one up. We'll have links to that for you in the show notes.
Very cool. We've got another one written up by Paul Redmond, which is env keys checker package. So if you don't know what an env is, I'm assuming you do, but .env would be the environment file that you would create for your local or your production version of your application that you're running, depending on which environment you're running inside of. But a lot of times you're going to be pulling those values from .env.example, right? If you update a new value that's going to require a new env item, you're going to put that into env example, so future developers know to set that in their own environment file. However, it's possible you could forget that. So what this does is it checks if all keys are available across all environment files. So for example, let's say you're working on a feature that adds a configuration value to your local env file. Typically, you'd need that value set into a new installation, and you would add it to your .env example file. If another developer updates the .env example file, you could run this command to ensure that your local env has any new values added. So the features are just checking if all the keys are available across all the envs. It adds the missing keys to the env files automatically. This is configurable. It will also check if the env and other provided files are present in the git ignore so that they're not committed to git by mistake. And it also will sync all the available keys by line across all the env files, referencing the master.env file, which is also configurable. So thanks, Paul Redmond, for writing that one up.
The Laravel community has been buzzing with excitement since the release of the Pan Analytics package, and developer Lucas Matafee has quickly capitalized on this momentum by creating a small and helpful Laravel package called Pan Analytics Viewer. This package enables you to view your Pan Analytics directly in the UI where they are triggered without needing to run the command line command. To install the package, you can use Composer, and then to add the pop-ups to your application, all you have to do is include the Pan Analytics Viewer components to your Blade template. Once that is added, you should have access to view the analytics of any element that has a data pan attribute when you hover over the element. Make sure, of course, that you render these components for users with necessary permissions to view that, as this will expose the analytics data that was collected by Pan.
Nice. Very cool. We have a zero-dependency SVG chart library for PHP. So this is straight SVG, just renders an SVG on the page, which is actually pretty cool because sometimes you don't want to deal with all that JavaScript nonsense, right? So Montage Charts package by Jamie Schutten is a zero-dependency PHP library for generating SVG charts. I got to say, the API is actually really nice, very straightforward. So you just have chart, series, new bar, and then you say, here are the bars that I want to pass in. It seems very simple. Here's the label, here's the value, all set to go. And then you just chart render. That gives you the SVG, and then it renders it out in your HTML. No problem. Now, the cool thing about this is it's really performant, right? So it runs really fast. And then another part that's cool about this is great for if you need to do something like embed a chart into a PDF, right? PDFs are going to have a hard time rendering like a JavaScript chart. And so if you're needing something to put into a PDF, this is a great option for that. Really lightweight, which means your PDF is going to render faster, and your SVG is going to be embedded correctly inside of that SVG. So really, really nice for reports that you want to render out into a PDF. Very cool. Thanks, Paul, for writing that one up.
Very cool. If you are struggling to keep your multilingual Laravel applications translations up to date, Casper Bottlet's Translation Checker is the solution. This package scans your project's code for strings that need translation and compares them to your language files. If it finds a missing translation key, it will add it with an empty value, making it easy for you to fill in the correct translation. What is also nice about this package is that even though it works with Laravel, it supports various front-end frameworks like Vue.js, React, and Svelte. Once you've got the package installed, you can use the versatile translations check command to check, manage, and update your translations. The package can also be configured to use translation services from Google, OpenAI, or DeepL, specify source paths, and define the language folder. You can do all of this by publishing the configuration file, and then you will have the option to make those changes for you, for yourself. There's also a number of other additional commands you can use. There is a translations clean, a find missing, a sort, and a sync command, which will sync translations between language files. You can check out more about that in the show notes.
That is incredible, actually. That is so handy. That is a big pain in the neck. I've had to do this before, and it can be very, very difficult and time consuming. So very nice. Okay, speaking of language, Blasp is a profanity filter package for Laravel. Super cool. It helps detect and mask profane words, which if you've ever had to do anything where you're going to just accept user input, this is it doesn't take long before you start realizing, oh, I guess I actually need something like that. Now, the cool thing about this is, if you've ever played Rocket League with David Hemphill, you'll know this. The guy always finds a way around the filters for his name. Somehow, he always finds a way. This one is actually pretty comprehensive. So it also matches various substitutions like a $$. It would match that, or like a -s or repeated letters or combinations of them. And it all works through the Blasp facade. So you can just say, get a clean string. It'll do like filtering on it, or it'll just do substitution. So you can either just replace it with like stars, or you could substitute a word in instead. And it also comes with a validation form input. So you could just say like, if the sentence contains profanities, the validation fails. And so they have to go back and change it, right? So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. If you've ever had to do this before, you know how difficult this can be. So check that one out, Blasp.
Very cool. Nuxt 3 and Laravel Sanctum Authentication. Is this a package? This looks like a tutorial. This is a tutorial. It's snuck in the wrong section.
Oh, no. Sorry.
No. We'll talk about that later. We will talk instead about integrating Unsplash into your Laravel application. Laravel Unsplash package provides an easy way to integrate your Laravel project with the Unsplash API. You can use the API to fetch photos, collections, and user data from Unsplash. The package features the ability to search for photos in a standard and an advanced capacity, as well as a collection search. It allows you to get photos by ID or to get random photos, to get users and user photos. It includes a rate limiting middleware, and more. The package is available on GitHub. The README includes installation, configuration details, usage instructions, and controller examples. And to get started with the Unsplash API, you'll need to register as a developer using the official developer documentation. Links for all of that will be in the show notes.
Let's talk about multi-tenancy, shall we? Sprout is a multi-tenancy package for Laravel created by Ali Reed. This is under active development. It hasn't hit a 1.0 release, but we decided to share it with those who maybe want to try it early and or contribute to active development. And so here are some of the main features. Tenant identification, so like support with a subdomain or a path. Dependency injection support, so resolution of a tenant allows it to be injected into controllers at the time that you're resolving that controller. Here's the tenant model, which has eloquent tenant support, so it works with tenants that are models. Database support, launching with single database support, but will also ship with other models eventually. Tenant-aware services is in progress, and it's supposed to be really highly configurable and extendable. So you can find the roadmap for it at sprout.alireed.com/roadmap to see if there's anything in there you would be interested in contributing to. And so it's also got a great FAQ section in the README that you can see why exactly they're doing this and what they're hoping to accomplish with this. Should seem relatively obvious, but why another one? And they explain that in their FAQ and in their docs. So check that one out. Thanks, Paul, for writing that one up, and good luck, Ali.
Amazing. Enzo Innocenzi created a Laravel notifications channel for the Bluesky social media app, and you can find it on GitHub. We've been using it for a while now to auto-publish news articles on Bluesky over to our Laravel News Bluesky account. If you're new to Bluesky and want to try it out, Justin Jackson has created a Laravel starter pack of many active users that are on the service. You can get started by installing the package, adding your username and password to the configuration file, and then using the notification channel in your application. We've got some details about how we've got it set up for sending notifications, which is extremely helpful if you want to go about getting posts cross-posted onto Bluesky, as well as other places that you might be doing so. Twitter, Twitter or LinkedIn or Threads or whatever else you're posting to. So we have links to all of that for you in the show notes.
Man, Bluesky's been blown up recently, huh?
Yeah. I think we saw lots of the speakers at Laracon AU were putting their Bluesky handles in. Some of them were not even including Twitter handles anymore. So I think the tide has finally turned on that one.
Yep, I agree. At least for the Laravel folks, it seems like a lot of Laravel folks are heading that direction. Tech
sure.
community in the wide tech community, I don't know, but definitely Laravel team. Team Laravel people heading over that way.
For sure.
Bento is an email marketing and automation platform for startups. Their team recently created an official Laravel SDK. There is a 30-day free trial if you're interested. This is not a sponsor. But if you're an existing Bento user, this SDK makes it easier for you to send emails, track events in your Laravel applications, etc. It has all the things you would think you would have if you were using an SDK. So I'm not going to really talk about it a whole lot in here. If you're using Bento or if you're looking for a solution for email marketing and automation, Bento's a good one to check out. They now have a Laravel SDK. There you have it. Boom.
If you have ever had a need to implement search into your application, you've probably heard of Apache Solr. Solr is a fast, open source search platform built on the full text, vector, and geospatial search capabilities of Apache Lucene. Developer Haider Jabbar Abdullah has built a package called Laravel Solr to provide a seamless integration with Apache Solr. This will allow Laravel developers to efficiently utilize Solr's powerful search capabilities right in their applications. Some of the key features include easy installation and setup, a comprehensive set of methods for indexing and searching, built-in support for common use cases, and well-documented and user-friendly README, I suppose. Once you have your application set up, you'll need to create a core if one does not already exist. In Solr, the term core is used to refer to a single index and associated transaction log. You can have multiple cores if needed, and in doing so, it will allow you to index data with different structures in the same server. This can also give you more control over how your data is presented to different audiences. There are some more details about how you would go about using and configuring, as well as some of the commands available to you. We have links to that in the show notes.
Very good. I'm super excited about this next one, actually. I think this is insanely useful. So this is called Lazy JSON Pages, and this is a JSON API scraper for PHP. Don't let that fool you as to what it is. Like, JSON API scraper sounds a little bit wrong, but it is a framework agnostic, so not just for Laravel. API scraper, here's the key. It loads items from any paginated JSON API into a Laravel lazy collection. So, get that. If you have a API resource that is paginated, and you know it's going to be paginated, you can configure this to give you a lazy collection, meaning it's not going to load it all in at once, but it can give you all of the items that would eventually be gotten from you from the paginated from the paginated response into one collection. This is huge, right? Normally you'd have to go do all of that yourself, get the response. Is there more pages? If there are, go grab the next page, go grab the next page after that until you run out of pages, etc. This just does it. So lazy collection from JSON pages past the source. Total pages is pagination.total pages. Here's how many async requests you can make. Here's how you should throttle it. Here's how many requests you can make per minute. Collect data.star. So you can grab any piece of information off of those responses and just grab that particular little piece there if you want to. This is awesome. I literally am so excited about this. What a great idea. I can't believe this hasn't existed before, but this is genius. I really, really, really like this. And so that's what it is. I think I've done a decent job explaining it. If you've had to deal with this sort of problem before, this is a game changer. Like, this is really, really helpful because it can be sort of annoying to deal with these paginated responses and not just have the whole thing all in one big block. And so this solves that problem for you. Very cool. Very, very cool.
Nice. If you've ever wanted to build your slide deck in Laravel, you can now do that with Simple Slides. Simple Slides is a responsive and text-first presentation tool that engages your audience. It is built with Laravel, Vue, and Postgres. You want to use this if you are prioritizing text content, you have a low amount of content per slide, and you have many slides and are changing through them quickly. You can see a demo of this at simpleslides.dev and go through the presentation using your arrow keys. You can also see a real presentation made with something that we'll link to in the show notes. Besides navigating with arrow keys, you can also use J or L to go forward one slide, K or H to go back, F to go forward, 5 slides, B to go back 5 slides, 0 to go to start, and $ to go to the end. Very intuitive if you are familiar with Vim bindings. We have links to that for you in the show notes.
Very nice. This is a new one. If you've been following Aaron Francis for any time, you probably saw this on his Twitter feed. But this is a new TUI, text-based user interface called Solo. A lot of these are gaining popularity thanks to Joe Tenenbaum, I think, Mr. TUI himself. And this is really, it's also Jess Archer, right? She's created Laravel prompts, which has just gone bonkers in the last year. She talked about it, released it at Laracon US in Nashville last year. And so developers are leveraging Laravel prompts to create these innovative TUIs for a variety of tasks. So the one that we're talking about here is Solo for Laravel. So this is developed by Aaron Francis, as we mentioned, and it allows you to run multiple commands at once to aid in your local development. So you think about this, like I have to run Vite to do all of my, asset compilation, and I have to run Reverb maybe, and I want my queue worker to be running, and I want to have Pint and CS Fixer running, and maybe I also want to be logging everything. Well, you could kind of go through and open all those different windows every time, or you could use Solo. So you just run PHP Artisan Solo, and that will bring them all up into your terminal in one window, and then you can navigate between those different views just using your arrow keys or using your keyboard. So it's really easy to get installed. It's just Composer require it. You install a Solo service provider, and then you run Solo. And inside of the Solo service provider, you just say, here is the different commands that I want to run. And so you just name them and list them out. Here's the logs, here's Vite, here's the HTTP, here's about, whatever. And you can just bring them all up, and it just runs in one panel. Super cool. Check out his demo on Twitter. I think we have a link to it, maybe. Nope, we don't. But you can find it on Twitter. And
I'll find the link.
Word of note, as of writing, as of the time of this writing, the package is still in active development, but it can be used right now. It's actually stable enough you could use it, and you can follow along with Aaron as he's been doing some live streams throughout the development process. But definitely check that one out. Really, really cool stuff. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Yannick, for writing that one up.
Yeah, I said to Mr. Francis that we have Joe fly down to Australia for a week, and he thinks he can take over as TUI guy. So.
Yes.
We have 5 tutorials. I'm going to hit you with the titles, and your homework at this point is to go through and read them and report back your findings. First up, we started talking about this a little bit earlier. Nuxt 3 and Laravel Sanctum authentication. Secure your SPA and API with ease. There is a video and there is a written version of this. Thanks to Harish Kumar for that one. If you've ever needed to make sure that you always render API exceptions as JSON in Laravel, this short article tutorial from Mr. Paul Redmond will help you out with that. It's always a pain when you have a failed response in your API and you get back a HTML page or a redirect to login, so check that one out. We have a YouTube video from Josh Cirre. Cirre? How do you pronounce his last name? Cirre.
Cirre. Josh
Cirre?
Cirre.
He'll tell us, he'll listen, and he'll tell us how to do it properly for next time. This is a video on how to create tech videos for YouTube by Josh. We'll have links to that for you in the show notes. He was also in the Laravel Creator Spotlight, so check that out. Oh, this is a Laravel Creator Spotlight.
It is a Laravel Creator Spotlight. Yeah.
Very confusing, Jake. Very confusing.
Sorry.
Here.
It's specifically how to create tech videos, so you could probably learn a thing or two in the tutorial side of things too. So there you have it.
Nice catch. Nice save. Creating a command line application with Laravel and Docker, written by everybody's favorite human, Paul Redmond. And lastly, a guide to pagination in Laravel. This is an Ash Allen tutorial, so of course it goes for a long time. We love the depth and the breadth that Ash covers in all of his articles for Laravel News. So thank you to that. That is it. We have managed to do this entire ginormous piece of Laravel News catch up in under 30 minutes.
That's awesome. That's incredible. Episode 226, folks. For those of you who are following along, the date today, November 12th. Thanks so much for tuning in with us. You can find show notes for this episode at podcast.laravel-news.com/226. Rate us up in your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars would be absolutely amazing. And if you have any questions, as always, hit us up on Twitter at Jacob Bennett, Michael Dyrynda, or at Laravel News. Thanks so much, everyone. Until next time, we'll see ya.
Bye.